I'm Emily Carter, 31, an elementary school teacher who had spent 7 years trying to believe that love mattered more than the Carter family's money or their opinion of me. On our anniversary, I placed a gold wedding band beside the candles and watched the color drain from my husband's face. "I found it under the passenger seat," I said, "so tell me who she is." Daniel stared at the ring, but no explanation came. Across the table, his mother, Lorraine, calmly lowered her wine glass. "I told you she would eventually find out." Every polished insult she had ever aimed at me suddenly felt like a warning I had ignored. Daniel's family had always treated me like a temporary guest in his life. Now it seemed they had all known about another woman before I did. Lorraine pushed a cropped photograph toward me. Daniel stood beside Claire Dawson, the family attorney. I almost believed the picture explained everything. Then I noticed Daniel looked frightened, not affectionate. And Lorraine had recognized the ring before I had even shown her the engraving inside. For one long second, no one at the table moved. The anniversary candles flickered between Daniel and me, bending whenever someone passed behind our booth. The waiter had just placed 2 untouched slices of chocolate cake in front of us. Around us, couples laughed, glasses clinked, and a birthday song started near the bar. At our table, it felt as though all the air had been pulled from the room. I turned the wedding band over in my fingers. Inside it, worn but still visible, was a small engraving. To L. Always. R. I looked directly at Lorraine. "How did you know what I found?" Her expression changed so quickly that I might have missed it if I had still been staring at Daniel. Her lips parted, and for the first time that evening, she looked uncertain. Then she recovered. "Daniel told me he was having problems," she said. "That isn't what I asked." "Emily?" Daniel warned softly. I shifted my eyes toward him. No. She knew it was a ring before I showed it to her. She knew exactly what it meant. Lorraine leaned back in her chair and folded her hands in her lap. A mother notices when her son is miserable. Daniel's jaw tightened. "I never said I was miserable." "You didn't have to." The words were directed at him, but she never stopped watching me. I pushed the photograph back across the table. "Was Claire at our house?" "No," Daniel said immediately. "Did she ever ride in your car?" His silence lasted only a moment, but it was enough. Lorraine lowered her eyes, almost respectfully, as if she wanted everyone to believe she was giving me privacy while my marriage collapsed. "Daniel?" "Yes," he admitted. "Once, maybe twice." My hand closed around the ring. "Why?" "It was work." "You told me you hadn't seen her outside the office." "I know what I told you." That answer hurt more than a denial would have. I stood so quickly that my knee struck the underside of the table. Silverware jumped against the plates. The people in the next booth glanced over, then looked away. Daniel reached for my wrist, but I stepped back before he could touch me. "Don't follow me until you're ready to answer every question." "Emily, please." Lorraine sighed as though I were embarrassing her. "You may want to lower your voice." I looked at her, and something inside me became unexpectedly calm. For years, Lorraine had corrected the way I dressed for family dinners, suggested that teaching was a sweet little career, and introduced me at charity events as Daniel's wife, without using my name. I had smiled through it because Daniel always whispered an apology afterward. I had accepted private comfort in place of public loyalty. Not that night. "You don't get to tell me how quietly I'm allowed to discover that my husband has been lying to me." I picked up the photograph and the ring, placed both inside my purse, and walked out of the restaurant alone. Daniel followed me as far as the sidewalk. "Emily, wait." Warm Charlotte air met my face as I stepped beneath the restaurant's awning. Cars moved slowly along the street, their headlights sliding across the wet pavement left by an earlier shower. I kept walking toward the parking garage. "The ring isn't Claire's," Daniel called behind me. I stopped. He came closer, but he left several feet between us. How do you know? I asked. Because she's not the woman you think she is. That doesn't answer the question. I can explain the meetings. Then explain them. He looked back toward the restaurant doors. Lorraine stood inside, visible through the glass, watching us. Daniel lowered his voice. Not here. I laughed once, but there was no humor in it. You've had months to choose a place. It's complicated. That is what people say when the simple truth would make them look guilty. His face tightened. I didn't have an affair. Were you alone with Claire? Yes. Did you lie about it? Yes. Did she ride in your car? Yes. And you expect me to ignore a wedding ring under her seat because you used the word complicated? He dragged a hand over his face. I was trying to finish something before our anniversary. For me? For us. Then why can't you tell me what it is? He looked toward his mother again. That glance answered a question I had not asked yet. Whatever he was hiding involved Lorraine. I unlocked my car. Emily, don't drive like this. I'm not getting into your car. I'll come home and tell you everything. No. I opened the door. You'll come home, and you'll tell me whatever version you think will keep me from leaving. His expression changed at the word leaving. For a moment, I saw the man I had married, the one who used to notice when I was overwhelmed before I said anything, the one who left coffee beside my lesson plans and drew tiny floor plans on napkins when he was nervous. Then the restaurant door opened and Lorraine stepped outside. Daniel, she said, let her go. She needs time to accept what this marriage has become. I looked at my husband. He did not defend me. He did not tell his mother to stop. He only stood between us, silent and miserable, as though the greatest tragedy was that he had been forced to choose a side. I drove away before I could watch him choose hers again. At home, our anniversary gifts were still waiting on the kitchen island. Mine for Daniel was wrapped in brown paper because he once told me expensive wrapping made him feel guilty about tearing it. Inside was a leather portfolio engraved with the address of the first building he had designed without his father's help. His gift to me was a rectangular box tied with a white ribbon. I did not open it. I took the ring and the photograph from my purse and placed them under the light above the stove. The picture showed Daniel beside Claire in a conference room. Claire's blonde hair was pulled back, and she wore a dark blue suit. Daniel's hand rested on the edge of the table near hers. The image had been cropped so tightly that their shoulders nearly filled the frame. Behind them, part of a framed map was visible. So was the edge of another chair. The ring was a plain gold band, heavier and wider than mine. It looked older, with faint scratches around the edges. I pulled up Claire's photograph on the law firm's website. In every professional image, she wore narrow rings on slender fingers. The band I had found would have been too large for her unless she wore it on her thumb. That did not prove anything. People removed rings. They resized them. They borrowed them. They lied. My phone lit up with Daniel's name. I let it ring. A minute later, a message appeared. Please let me come home. I typed, tell me what you were doing with Claire. The 3 dots appeared, disappeared, and appeared again. I waited until the screen dimmed in my hand. Finally, his answer came. I was handling a family matter. I should have told you. There was no affair. I stared at the words. What family matter? No response. Are you with your mother? The message showed as delivered, then read. He still did not answer. I called Maya. She picked up on the second ring. Happy anniversary, she said. Please tell me you're calling because Daniel finally took you somewhere without his mother. My silence changed her voice immediately. What happened? By the time I finished, I was sitting on the kitchen floor with my back against the cabinets. Maya did not interrupt. She listened through the ring, the photograph, Daniel's lies, and Lorraine's terrible sentence at the table. Then she asked, Who gave you the picture? Lorraine. Was it printed? Yes. Do you have the original file? No. Then you don't know what was outside the crop. I closed my eyes. I know what was under the seat. I'm not telling you to ignore it. I'm telling you not to let someone else decide what the evidence means before you've seen all of it. Maya worked in the school's administrative office and had spent years dealing with screenshots taken out of context by angry parents, students, and occasionally staff members. She always said a cropped image could show something that happened without showing what actually happened around it. Photographs can be useful, she said, but a crop removes people, objects, even the reason everyone was in the room. Ask for the original. Check when it was taken and who sent it. Don't confront 10 people with 10 theories. Start with what you can verify. I looked at the photo again. Daniel admitted he was with her. Yes. And that matters. His lies matter even if the affair doesn't exist. That was why Maya was the only person I had called. She never told me what I wanted to hear just because I was hurt. Do you think I'm being stupid for not packing? I asked. No. I think you're still trying to understand what you'd be packing for. The lock turned in the front door. Daniel stepped inside slowly, carrying the anniversary cake in a white cardboard box. He looked absurdly careful with it, as though saving the dessert might preserve something else. I have to go, I told Maya. Call me if you need a place to sleep. I ended the call and stood. Daniel set the cake on the counter. His eyes moved to the unopened gift, then to the ring beneath the light. Where's my mother? I took her home. Did she tell you what she meant? She thinks she knows more than she does. She knew about the ring. She knew there were problems. What problems? Daniel? He loosened his tie but did not remove it. The mountain house. The answer was so different from what I expected that I almost laughed again. What about it? My grandfather left it to me. I know. I've been trying to change the ownership. I folded my arms. To whose name? He looked at me then. Ours. The room became very still. For years, the Carter Mountain House had existed as a symbol of everything their family believed did not belong to me. It sat 2 hours northwest of Charlotte, surrounded by pine trees and family history. Lorraine kept photographs of every Carter wedding and Christmas in its hallways. Daniel's grandfather had taught him to fish there. Robert kept the keys in a locked cabinet as though the property were a museum. The first time Daniel took me there, Lorraine had asked me not to move anything in the kitchen because the family had a system. We had been married for almost 7 years. I still had to ask permission before inviting Maya for a weekend. You were putting my name on the house? I was trying to, without telling me. I wanted it to be an anniversary gift. A property transfer isn't perfume, Daniel. I know that now. No, you knew that before. You just decided the surprise mattered more than the conversation. He stepped closer. Claire was helping with the documents. My mother found out and threatened to contest everything she could. She said the house had to stay under Carter control. I'm a Carter. I told her that. Did you tell her while I was in the room? His eyes dropped. That was the problem with Daniel. He believed words spoken after I left could repair the words he allowed while I was there. You told me you were visiting a construction site, I said. I was meeting Claire. You told me you were having dinner with your father. He was supposed to be there. Was he? For part of it. And Claire rode in your car because? Her car was being serviced. I drove her back to the office after a meeting. I pointed to the ring. Did she sit in the passenger seat? Yes. My throat tightened. Did you see her wearing that? No. Did you see anyone wearing it? No. Then how can you be so sure it isn't hers? Because Claire isn't... He stopped. Isn't what? He shook his head. It doesn't matter. It matters to me. I'm not discussing someone else's private life to defend myself. His refusal could have been honorable. It could also have been convenient. I picked up the photograph. Who else was in this room? Daniel looked at it for a long time. My father. Melissa. Two people from Claire's office. Then why does this picture show only you and Claire? I've never seen that version. Lorraine had it. His eyes lifted toward mine. Where did she get it? I was hoping you could tell me. He reached for the photograph, but I pulled it back. You don't get to take the evidence because you finally offered me part of the truth. I'm not trying to take it. You've been deciding what I'm allowed to know for months. That isn't what I wanted. It's what you did. His shoulders sank. I could see the exhaustion in his face, and part of me hated that I still wanted to comfort him. Loving someone did not disappear the moment trust broke. Sometimes love stayed exactly where it was, making the damage harder to look at. Daniel reached into his jacket and placed a key on the counter. It was brass, old, and attached to a small wooden tag shaped like a pine tree. The mountain house, he said. My grandfather's original key. I stared at it. I was going to put it in your gift box with a copy of the deed once everything was final. I looked at the unopened present. Is that what's inside? The key to the reading room. I had shelves built in the east room, the one with the big windows. Months earlier, I had mentioned that the room would be perfect for reading workshops during summer break. Lorraine had laughed and said the house was not a community center. Daniel had remembered. For one dangerous moment, the gesture nearly overwhelmed everything else. Then I remembered him sitting across from me while Lorraine insulted the idea, saying nothing. You built something for me in a house you were too afraid to tell me might become mine. I wanted to protect it until it was real. You wanted to protect yourself from the argument. He opened his mouth, then closed it. That silence was the first honest answer he had given me. I picked up the brass key. Sleep in the guest room. Emily. I'm not asking you to leave, not tonight, but I can't lie beside you and pretend this is only about a ring. He nodded. As he walked away, I asked one more question. Did your mother know Claire was helping you transfer the house? He stopped in the hallway. Yes. And did she know you were planning to give it to both of us? Yes. He disappeared into the guest room. A few minutes later, my phone vibrated. The message was from Melissa. I'm so sorry. Mom told me what happened. Daniel should have been honest with you. I read it twice before replying. Were you at the meeting with Claire? Her response came almost immediately. Which meeting? The one in the photograph. The typing dots appeared, then vanished. Finally, she wrote, I was at one meeting, but not the one Mom showed you. I photographed her answer with my own phone and placed it beside the picture on the counter. For the first time that night, I was no longer asking only whether Daniel had betrayed me. I was asking why his family could not agree on when it had happened. The next morning, Daniel had already left for work when I came downstairs. There was coffee in the pot and a note beside my mug. I'll answer anything tonight. No more surprises. I folded the note and put it in my purse. At school, I read the same paragraph to my third-grade class 3 times before one of my students raised his hand and gently told me I had skipped a page. I apologized, smiled, and continued. That was what adults did when their private lives were breaking. They corrected the page, kept their voices steady, and saved the shaking for a bathroom stall during lunch. Maya found me there. She handed me a bottle of water and waited until I unlocked the stall. You look terrible, she said. Thank you. You're welcome. I told her about the mountain house. Her eyebrows rose. That is not what I expected. Neither did I. Do you believe him? I believe there was a property transfer. I don't know whether that was the only reason for the meetings. And the ring? He says he has never seen it. Maya leaned against the sink. Then separate the problems. What does that mean? The ring may prove something, The photograph may prove something. His lies already prove something. They don't all have to prove the same thing. That sentence stayed with me. I had spent the entire night trying to build one explanation large enough to hold every betrayal. Maybe there were several truths, and some of them had nothing to do with another woman. At the end of the school day, Lorraine was waiting beside my car. She wore cream trousers and dark glasses, though the sky was overcast. "I thought we should speak without Daniel," she said. "I didn't." She removed her glasses. "You are making this more painful than it needs to be. I found another wedding ring in my husband's car. And he lied to you about another woman. Claire is his attorney." Lorraine's mouth tightened. "Is that what he told you?" "He told me about the house." For the first time, her composure cracked. Only slightly, but I saw it. "That property is not his to give away. His grandfather left it to him. Because he trusted Daniel to preserve it. Putting my name beside his doesn't destroy it. You don't understand what that house represents." "No, I understand exactly. It represents a room your family has kept locked while insisting I should be grateful to stand in the hallway." She stepped closer. "I welcomed you. You tolerated me because Daniel refused to leave me." Her eyes hardened. "My son has given up opportunities because of this marriage." "Which opportunities?" "The partnership he was supposed to take over. The clients who expected a certain kind of family. The life he was raised to build." There it was. Not concern for Daniel's happiness. Concern for the version of him she had designed before he met me. "Did you give me the photograph because you thought he was having an affair?" I asked. "Or because you wanted me to believe he was?" Her face became unreadable. "You found the ring yourself." "That wasn't my question." "You should ask Daniel why he keeps choosing secrecy." "I did not teach him to lie to his wife." "No, you taught him that keeping you calm was more important than telling me the truth." She placed her sunglasses back over her eyes. "When this is over, Emily, I hope you remember that I tried to spare you a public humiliation." She walked away before I could ask what she meant by when this was over. That evening, an envelope was taped to our front door. Inside were 3 more photographs. Daniel and Claire entering her office after dark. Daniel standing beside Claire's car. Daniel leaning toward her across a restaurant table. On the back of the last photograph, someone had written a date from 6 weeks earlier. I remembered that night. Daniel had told me he was meeting Robert to discuss a hotel project. I had called at 9 because the school's air conditioning had failed during an evening parent event. Daniel answered on video. He was alone in his office, still wearing the same gray jacket shown in the photograph. The photograph could have been taken earlier, but beneath it was a printout of a message. "I need to see you before Emily finds out." The timestamp was 8:43 p.m. At 8:43, Daniel had been on the video call with me. He could have sent the message from his computer while we spoke. He could have typed it from another device. The inconsistency was not proof of innocence. But it was enough to make me question whoever wanted the message to feel definitive. Daniel came home while I was arranging the pictures on the dining table. He stopped when he saw them. "Where did you get those?" "They were left on the door." He picked up the restaurant photograph. "My father was sitting across from me." "He isn't in the picture." "Because someone cut him out." "And the message?" Daniel read it. His face changed. "I never sent this." "You said you'd answer anything." "I am answering." "Then show me your phone." He handed it to me without hesitation. I searched Claire's name. The thread contained messages about appointments, documents, signatures, and a survey of the mountain property. Nothing romantic. Nothing matching the line on the printout. But several weeks of messages had been deleted. What happened here? I deleted them. Why? Because my mother was looking through my phone. I stared at him. She did what? It was at the office. I left it in a conference room. She confronted me about the transfer an hour later. She knew details I had only discussed with Claire. So you deleted messages from your own phone rather than tell your mother to stay out of it? I changed the password. That is not a boundary, Daniel. That is a new hiding place. His voice rose. What did you want me to do? Blow up my entire family before I knew whether the transfer could even happen? I wanted you to tell your wife that someone was trying to control a decision affecting both of us. I was trying to give you something they could never take away. You were deciding my future in secret. It was a gift. It was property. Legal documents, taxes, responsibility. A gift does not mean I surrender the right to understand what is being done in my name. He sat down heavily. You're right. The speed of his answer stopped me. He looked at the photographs spread between us. I thought the result would justify the secrecy. I thought once you had the key, none of the ugliness would matter. You thought I would be so grateful that I wouldn't ask what it cost us. He pressed his fingertips against his forehead. I didn't cheat on you. I believe you want me to believe that. That isn't the same thing. No. He looked at my wedding ring. Are you going to take it off? The question was so quiet that anger left me for a moment. I don't know. He nodded as if I had already answered. Then my phone rang. It was Claire. I put the call on speaker. Emily, she said, I received a message from your number asking for copies of Daniel's file. I looked at Daniel. I didn't send anything. Claire was silent for a moment. The message included personal details about the property. What details? I can't discuss confidential documents without authorization, but someone is trying to obtain them while making it look as though the request came from you. Daniel stood. My mother. We don't know that, Claire said sharply, and I am not accusing anyone without evidence. Can you at least tell me whether the photograph of you and Daniel was taken during a legal meeting? I asked. Yes. Who else was there? I can confirm it was not a private or romantic meeting. Beyond that, I need Daniel's written permission. You have it, he said. Claire paused. Robert and Melissa were present. So were two members of my staff. I looked at the tightly cropped photograph. Melissa had lied. Or Lorraine had lied to Melissa. Or they had both decided I was easier to manipulate than Daniel. Claire continued. Emily, cropped images and copied messages can be misleading. That does not excuse Daniel's dishonesty with you. But before you make decisions based on these materials, you should ask for the original files and preserve whatever was sent to you. Do not alter them. Why? Because the original date, source, and surrounding context may matter. A printed copy shows only what someone chose to print. After the call ended, Daniel and I stood across from each other. Why did Melissa tell me she wasn't at that meeting? I don't know. Call her. He did. Melissa answered on the fourth ring. Daniel placed the phone on speaker. Were you at Claire's office when the photograph was taken? Silence. Melissa? Mom told me not to get involved. That isn't an answer. Yes, she said. I was there. Why did you tell Emily you weren't? I said I wasn't at the meeting Mom showed her. It was the same meeting. I didn't know that. Mom told me the picture was from another night. I leaned toward the phone. Did you see Daniel alone with Claire? No. Did you ever believe they were having an affair? Another silence. I believed Daniel was hiding something. That isn't what I asked. No, Melissa admitted. I never saw anything romantic. Daniel closed his eyes. Why didn't you tell Emily that? Because Mom said the marriage had already become unhealthy, and that interfering would only make things worse. I looked at the ring on the table. Did your mother tell you where the wedding band came from? What wedding band? Her confusion sounded genuine. After the call ended, Daniel reached for my hand. I let him touch my fingertips, but I did not close my hand around his. I am sorry, he said, not just for the lies, For every time I let her make you feel alone because confronting her felt harder. I wanted to lean into him. I wanted to return to the version of our life that existed before the restaurant, before the photographs, before I understood how many of our peaceful days had been purchased with silence. Instead, I stepped back. I need to speak to Claire alone. He nodded. Okay. And I need you not to call your mother and warn her. His expression told me he had already considered doing exactly that. That habit, I said, is why we are here. The next morning, I met Claire at her office. Her conference room was larger than it appeared in Lorraine's photograph. The framed map was on the far wall. 8 chairs surrounded the table. Claire placed the original image on a monitor. Daniel and Claire stood in the center. Robert sat to the left, partially hidden behind Daniel's shoulder. Melissa stood near the window. 2 legal assistants were visible near a stack of folders. The cropped version had removed every person who made the meeting ordinary. Who took this? I asked. One of my assistants. Daniel had just signed an authorization for us to begin preparing the transfer. How did Lorraine get it? Claire's expression tightened. The image was included in a private update sent to Robert because he was involved in an earlier title issue. Lorraine has access to his email. Does Robert know that? You would need to ask him. Claire opened a paper file but kept it angled away from me. I can tell you that Daniel was attempting to place the property into shared ownership. I advised him repeatedly that surprising a spouse with a major legal or financial change is not the same as obtaining informed agreement. Even when the intention is generous, both people should understand the responsibilities and consequences before documents are finalized. So he was really doing it for us? Yes. Then why all the secret meetings? Because Lorraine threatened to interfere with the transfer and with Daniel's position at the firm. He believed he could complete everything quietly. Could he? No. The answer came without hesitation. Secrets create mistakes, Claire said. And in this case, they created opportunities for someone else. She handed me a copy of the meeting schedule. There were 5 names on it, including Melissa's. At the bottom was the date. It matched the date written on Lorraine's cropped photograph. Claire, have you ever worn a plain gold wedding band? No. Have you ever lost a ring in Daniel's car? No. Did you ride in the passenger seat? Once. Robert was in the back. Was Lorraine ever near the car? Claire hesitated. At the family office, yes. Daniel left his keys with reception several times during meetings. That did not prove Lorraine had touched the car, but it proved she could have. When I returned home, Daniel was waiting at the kitchen table. I placed the original photograph beside the cropped one. He stared at them. I should have shown you everything from the beginning, he said. Yes. I thought protecting you meant keeping you away from the fight. You kept me away from the decisions too. He nodded. I don't know how to fix that. Start by not asking me to trust promises you haven't supported with actions. He slid a folder toward me. Inside were copies of every document Claire had prepared, along with a written authorization allowing me to speak with her independently. I haven't signed anything final, he said. Nothing moves forward unless you understand it and want it. I looked through the pages. Then I found a draft letter addressed to the Carter architectural firm. It was Daniel's resignation. You were leaving? I was considering it. Because of the house? Because my mother used my job to control my marriage, and because I kept letting her. For the first time since the restaurant, I saw real change trying to begin. Not a grand gesture, not an apology designed to stop my anger, but the recognition that his choices had consequences. I sat across from him. I still don't know where the ring came from. Neither do I. And until we do, I can't pretend nothing happened. I'm not asking you to. We sat there in the fading afternoon light, separated by documents, photographs, and nearly 7 years of love. Daniel reached across the table. This time, I let him hold my hand, only for a moment. Then the doorbell rang. Robert stood outside. He looked older than he had at dinner, his shoulders bent beneath a dark jacket despite the warm evening. "I need to speak with both of you," he said. Inside, he noticed the gold band on the table. His face drained of color exactly as Daniel's had. "Where did you get that?" I stood. "It was in Daniel's car." Robert looked toward the hallway as though expecting Lorraine to appear. "That ring disappeared months ago." "Whose ring is it?" He sat down without being invited. "Lorraine kept it in a jewelry box at the Mountain House. It was the band I gave her before I could afford the ring she wears now." The engraving flashed through my mind. To L, always. R. Why would her ring be in Daniel's car? Robert rubbed both hands over his face. "I don't know." But he would not look at me when he said it. "Did Lorraine accuse anyone when it disappeared?" "The woman who cleaned the Mountain House." "What happened to her?" "Lorraine dismissed her." I felt sick. "Did you believe she stole it?" "No." "Then why did you let Lorraine fire her?" His silence was an answer I had heard too many times from Carter men. I picked up the ring. Robert watched it turn between my fingers. "Lorraine said she lost it in January," he continued. "She searched everywhere. She was furious." "Did Daniel know?" "No. We stopped wearing those bands years ago. He probably wouldn't recognize it." I looked at Daniel. He shook his head. Robert stood. "You should let me speak to Lorraine." "No," I said. His eyes met mine. "For once, no one in this family is going to manage the truth before I hear it." I took the brass Mountain House key from the drawer. "Where are you going?" Daniel asked. "To find out what else your mother thought she could hide there." The drive into the mountains took nearly 3 hours in evening traffic. Daniel offered to come, but I refused. I needed one decision that belonged entirely to me. The house was dark when I arrived. I unlocked the front door and switched on the hallway lights. Generations of Carter faces stared down from the walls. Weddings, graduations, Christmas mornings, family portraits taken before I existed. I walked past the kitchen, the locked study, and the east room Daniel had begun transforming for me. The shelves were unfinished, but they were real. So were the wide windows overlooking the trees. On the floor sat a box labeled Emily's Workshops in Daniel's handwriting. I rested my hand against it, allowing myself 3 seconds to feel what the room might have meant under different circumstances. Then I continued upstairs. Lorraine's old bedroom closet contained albums, jewelry receipts, and neatly labeled storage boxes. I searched slowly, careful not to destroy anything. Near midnight, I found an album marked Anniversaries. On the first page was a photograph of Robert and Lorraine outside a courthouse decades earlier. They were young, smiling, and dressed in clothes that looked borrowed. Lorraine's left hand rested against Robert's chest. On her finger was the gold band. I placed the ring beside the photograph. The width matched. The scratches along the edge matched. Beneath the picture, Lorraine had written the date and the same words engraved inside the band. To L, always. R. My phone vibrated. A message from Melissa appeared. "Family meeting tomorrow at Mom and Dad's. She says Daniel has to choose between the firm and his marriage." A second message followed. "Emily, there's something else. Mom asked me months ago whether Daniel still kept his car keys at reception." I photographed the album page, the inscription, and the ring together. Then I found the original jewelry appraisal tucked behind the photograph. Lorraine's name was printed at the top. The description included the band's weight, engraving, and a tiny repair mark near the inner edge. The same mark was visible beneath my thumb. Lorraine had recognized the ring at the restaurant because it belonged to her. She had known what I found before I showed it to anyone. By morning, I had the cropped photograph, the original photograph, the forged message, the appraisal, and the ring inside one folder. When I reached the Carter home, every car was already in the driveway. Through the front window, I could see Lorraine standing beside the fireplace while Daniel, Melissa, Robert, and Claire waited around her. Lorraine was holding a document. I heard her voice through the door. By the time Emily understands what happened, Daniel will have lost everything. I tightened my hand around the folder and rang the bell. Robert opened the door. His eyes dropped to the folder in my hand, then moved past me toward the driveway as if he were checking whether anyone else had followed. Emily. Move, please. He stepped aside. The room went silent when I entered. Lorraine stood beside the fireplace holding a document in one hand. Daniel was near the window. Melissa sat rigidly on the edge of the couch, while Claire had positioned herself beside the dining table with her briefcase open. I closed the front door behind me. No one is signing anything until we finish the conversation you tried to have without me. Lorraine's expression barely changed. This is a private family matter. I'm Daniel's wife. You made my marriage the subject of this meeting. She glanced at the folder. You drove to the mountain house. It was not a question. I walked to the table and placed the gold band in the center. Then I set the old photograph beside it. Lorraine and Robert stared back at us from another lifetime, young and smiling outside a courthouse. The ring was clearly visible on her hand. Daniel stepped closer. That's yours? Lorraine did not answer him. I unfolded the appraisal and placed it beside the picture. The weight matches. The engraving matches. So does the repair mark inside the band. Robert lowered his head. Melissa whispered, Mom? Lorraine finally looked at me. You searched through my personal belongings. I searched the house Daniel inherited after your ring appeared beneath the passenger seat of his car. You had no right. You lost the right to complain about privacy when you used mine to destroy my marriage. She gave a small, dismissive laugh. You are making assumptions. No. You made the assumptions. You gave me a photograph cropped to remove 5 other people. You gave me a printed message that Daniel could not have sent at the time shown. You recognized this ring before I turned it over because it belonged to you. The ring disappeared months ago, and somehow found its way into Daniel's car just as he was preparing to put my name on the mountain property. Lorraine looked toward Claire. This is exactly why you should never have involved her. Claire's voice remained level. Emily was involved the moment documents were prepared in her name. Lorraine lifted the paper she had been holding. This transfer can still be stopped. Daniel moved away from the window. What is that? A notice to the trustees of the family firm. If you proceed against the family's interests, your partnership review will be withdrawn. You called this meeting to threaten his job? I asked. I called this meeting to prevent my son from destroying everything his family built. By convincing me he was sleeping with his attorney? I never said that. You didn't need to. You gave me every piece in exactly the order that would make me say it for you. Her eyes sharpened. You found the ring. In the car, you could access. I have never had Daniel's keys. Melissa inhaled suddenly. Everyone turned toward her. Lorraine's voice changed. Melissa. No, Melissa said, standing. You said you borrowed them because you needed a document from his trunk. Daniel stared at his sister. When? The afternoon of the partnership meeting. At the office. Lorraine's jaw tightened. Melissa's hands were trembling, but she continued. You asked me to distract the receptionist. You said Daniel was hiding legal papers from Dad. I was protecting this family. You came back without any papers, Melissa said, and when I asked what you found, you said, only something Emily needs to see. The room became completely still. Lorraine looked at her daughter as if she had become a stranger. You misunderstood me. No. Melissa's voice cracked. I chose not to understand you because it was easier. Daniel stepped toward his mother. You put the ring in my car. Lorraine looked away. You were lying to your wife. I did not create that. No, he said. You used it. She turned on him. You were about to give away the house your grandfather left you. You were going to risk your position, embarrass your father, and hand half of a family property to a woman who has never respected what it means. I felt the old wound open, but this time I did not let her define it. I respected that house more than you did. I saw a place where Daniel's memories could stay alive and where new ones could be made. You saw a locked door that proved you still controlled who belonged. You don't belong simply because you married him. Daniel's face changed. For years, Lorraine had wrapped the same message in polite language. That morning, with her plan breaking apart, she finally said it plainly. Daniel stepped between us. You will never say that to her again. Lorraine stared at him. I am your mother. And she is my wife. You have said that before. Not when it cost me anything. He took the document from her hand and placed it on the table. You were right about one thing. I lied to Emily. I hid the meetings. I let you use my career and the house to keep me afraid. Then I called that protection because it sounded better than cowardice. He looked at me. I was scared that if I told you how much power she still had over my work, you would see me the way I saw myself. How is that? I asked. Weak. His answer came without hesitation. I thought I could complete the transfer, hand you the key, and prove I had chosen you without ever admitting how many times I failed to choose you when you were standing in the room. The apology hurt because it was precise. Daniel turned back to his mother. But you did not just interfere with a property transfer. You tried to make my wife believe I had betrayed her. You used Claire's private work, Dad's email, your own ring, and my lies. Lorraine folded her arms. I gave Emily information. Her lack of trust did the rest. I took the forged message from the folder. At 8:43 that night, Daniel was on a video call with me. He could have used another device. The message was never in his account, Claire said, and the formatting does not match the firm's messaging system. Lorraine looked at her. You cannot prove I created it. Not from this printout alone, Claire replied. But I can prove the photograph came from Robert's email. I can prove it was cropped after he received it. And I can document the fraudulent request sent in Emily's name. Robert looked at his wife. You used my account? You gave me the password? For family bills. For family business. No, he said quietly. For control. Lorraine's face hardened. You sat silent while Daniel threw away his future. Robert looked at the ring. I sat silent when you accused the housekeeper of taking this. Lorraine said nothing. You knew she had not stolen it, I said. I believed she had misplaced it. You fired her. She was careless. You kept the ring, Robert said. You let me believe an innocent woman had taken it. For the first time, Lorraine seemed smaller, not remorseful, but exposed. She moved toward the hallway. This conversation is over. Daniel blocked her path, not touching her, only refusing to step aside. No, you don't leave after detonating my marriage and call the conversation over. What do you expect me to do? Apologize for trying to save you from a mistake? I expect you to understand the consequence. He removed an envelope from inside his jacket. I recognized it immediately. His resignation letter. Lorraine stared at it. You would not survive 6 months without the firm. Then I'll learn what I can build without it. Daniel. I signed it this morning. He placed the envelope on top of her document. The color left Lorraine's face. You're choosing her over your family. Daniel looked at Melissa, then Robert. No, I'm refusing to let you speak for the entire family. Robert sat down, his expression carrying years of things he had never said. Melissa wiped her eyes. Daniel continued. You will have no access to my office, my car, my email, or any documents involving Emily. You will not contact her unless she asks you to, and you will not come to our home. For how long? That will be Emily's decision too. Lorraine looked at me with open contempt. You have what you wanted. I shook my head. No, I wanted a husband who told me the truth. I wanted a family that did not make me audition for basic respect. I wanted one anniversary dinner where I didn't have to watch Daniel calculate how much of your cruelty he could ignore without upsetting either of us. Daniel lowered his eyes. I found the ring and spent 2 nights wondering whether 7 years of my life had been a lie. You created that fear, Lorraine. But Daniel created the space where your lie could survive. He looked at me again. I know. No more secret financial decisions. No more private promises to your family that affect our marriage. No more defending me after I leave the room. And therapy is not optional if we try again. I'll go. You are not agreeing because you are afraid I'll walk out today. You'll go when the crisis is quieter too. I understand. I turned to Claire. The property transfer stops. Daniel flinched but nodded. Until we review everything together, I continued. The ownership, taxes, maintenance, all of it. I will not accept half a house as payment for surviving this. Claire closed the file. That is the appropriate next step. Lorraine laughed bitterly. So after all this, you still plan to take it? I faced her. I plan to decide with my husband whether we want it. That is the difference you never understood. Robert stood. Lorraine, give me your phone. She stared at him. What? You no longer have access to my email. Claire will help me change every password and review what was sent. You are humiliating me in my own home. No, he said. We are finally refusing to protect you from the consequences. Lorraine's eyes moved from Robert to Melissa, then to Daniel. She had controlled the room for so long that she did not know how to stand in it without someone surrendering. No one did. She picked up her purse. At the door, she looked at Daniel. When this falls apart, do not come back expecting me to rebuild your life. Daniel's voice was steady. If it falls apart, it will be because Emily and I could not repair what I damaged, not because you were right about her. Lorraine left. The door closed softly behind her. There was no dramatic crash, no final confession, only the sound of her car starting outside and the uncomfortable silence of a family learning what remained when fear stopped making the decisions. Melissa approached me. I'm sorry. I believe you are. I should have told you what I saw. Yes. She nodded, accepting the answer without asking me to soften it. Robert picked up the old wedding band. I'll contact the housekeeper. Not Lorraine, I said. No, I will. And you'll tell her the truth. He closed his hand around the ring. Yes. Claire packed the documents into her briefcase. I will send both of you a complete list of what has been prepared. Nothing will move forward without written approval from each of you. After the others left, Daniel and I remained in his parents' living room. His resignation letter was gone with Claire, ready to be delivered to the firm. The Mountain House key rested between us on the table. I don't know whether leaving the firm fixes anything, I said. It doesn't. Putting limits on your mother doesn't restore my trust. I know. And proving there was no affair does not erase the fact that you lied. I know that too. I looked at him. Then tell me why I should try. He did not reach for me. Because I am not asking you to return to the marriage we had. That marriage taught me I could hide hard things and make you call the silence peace. His eyes filled, but he did not look away. I want to build a different one. I'll show you the accounts. We'll make every decision together. I'll go to therapy even if you decide you need space from me. And when my family crosses a line, you will not have to wait until we are alone to hear me defend you. What happens when keeping those promises costs more than resigning from one job? Then I pay the cost. I studied his face, searching for the hesitation that had followed every promise before. It was not there. That did not mean trust had returned. It meant he had finally stopped asking me to provide it in advance. I'm not forgiving you today, I said. I'm not asking you to. I may still need time away. I'll respect that. And if you hide one more problem because you think the truth will upset me, I will not stay and help you rename it protection. I understand. I picked up the Mountain House key. For years, I had believed belonging was something the Carter family could grant or deny. Standing there, I finally understood that the real question was not whether Lorraine accepted me. It was whether Daniel and I could create a marriage in which neither of us needed her permission. I closed my fingers around the key. "We can try," I said. "But this time, we build it together." Daniel nodded, and for the first time since I found the second wedding ring, he did not offer me a secret, a surprise, or a promise he had made alone. He simply walked beside me as we left the house. The first night after we left the Carter house, I stayed with Maya. Daniel did not argue. He carried my overnight bag to her porch, set it beside the door, and handed me a folder containing every account, contract, email, and document connected to the mountain property. "No more deciding what you're allowed to know," he said. I searched his face for an attempt to make me comfort him. There wasn't one. "I'll call you after I speak with a therapist," he added, "not before." For the next 5 days, Daniel respected the silence I had requested. He sent only practical messages: confirmation that his resignation had been accepted, the name of the couple's therapist he had contacted, and a list of appointments Claire wanted both of us to attend. He never asked when I was coming home. That restraint mattered more than the flowers he would once have sent. Lorraine tried to reach me twice through Robert, and once through an email titled "A Misunderstanding That Went Too Far." I did not open it. Daniel responded instead. He informed her in Ithienouo, writing that she was not permitted at our home, the mountain property, or his new office. Any necessary family communication would go through Robert or Melissa. She was also removed from every account, calendar, and document connected to Daniel's professional or personal life. This time, the boundary was not something he whispered to me after she left. He sent the same message to the entire family. Robert contacted the woman Lorraine had accused of stealing the ring. He told her the truth and apologized without asking her to make him feel better. He also paid the wages Lorraine had withheld when she dismissed her. It did not erase what had happened, but it was the first time I saw Robert correct one of his silences instead of hiding behind it. Our first therapy session was not romantic. Daniel sat beside me on a gray couch and admitted that he had treated honesty like a danger he could manage. "I kept thinking I needed to bring Emily a solution," said. "I didn't understand that every time I hid the problem, I made her face the consequences without me." The therapist looked at me. What would partnership have looked like? "Calling me before he met with Claire," I said. "Telling me his mother was threatening his job, asking whether I even wanted the house. Letting me be disappointed, scared, or angry without deciding those feelings were too much for me." Daniel nodded. "I should have trusted you with the truth. You should have respected me enough to let me respond to it." He did not defend himself. That became the beginning of our new language. Not apologies followed by explanations. Acknowledgement followed by change. When I returned home, Daniel remained in the guest room. We ate dinner together, but he did not assume that sharing a house meant the marriage had already healed. Some nights we talked for an hour. Other nights I could barely look at the passenger seat of his car without remembering the gold band beneath it. Trust returned in small, inconvenient pieces. It returned when Daniel showed me an email from Lorraine before answering it. It returned when he received an offer from a former client and asked what I thought before accepting. It returned when Claire sent revised property documents and Daniel placed them unopened on the kitchen table until we could review them together. 3 months after our anniversary, we met with Claire and a financial advisor. The mountain house came with property taxes, insurance, maintenance costs, and legal responsibilities I had never considered when Daniel imagined presenting it to me with a ribbon. We discussed every part of it. We disagreed about whether to rent the guest cottage. We changed our minds twice about renovations. We asked questions until the decision belonged to both of us. Only then did we sign. Daniel transferred half the property into my name, but the document no longer felt like compensation for what I had endured. It felt like an agreement I had chosen. His new architecture studio began in a rented room above a neighborhood bookstore. There was no receptionist, no private parking space, and no family name engraved on the glass. For the first few months, he worked longer hours for less money. He never once suggested that leaving the Carter firm was something I owed him for. When a client connected to Lorraine offered him a large contract on the condition that he resolve the family tension, Daniel showed me the email before he responded. "What do you think?" he asked. I looked at the amount and felt the old temptation to avoid conflict for the sake of comfort. "What do you think?" I asked back. "That the condition has nothing to do with architecture." "Then we agree." He declined it. It was a small decision compared with the night of the confrontation, but it told me more than any dramatic promise could have. He had stopped waiting until someone forced him to choose. Melissa visited us several times. Rebuilding trust with her was slower than she wanted, but she accepted that. She did not defend Lorraine or pressure me to forgive. Once, while helping me unpack books at the mountain house, she said, "Mom always made silence feel like loyalty." I placed another stack on the shelf. And now? Now it feels like participation. That answer was enough for that day. Lorraine remained outside our lives. Robert told us she had begun counseling on her own, but I did not treat that as a reason to restore contact. Change was hers to prove, over time, not mine to reward immediately. 6 months after I found the ring, the East Room at the Mountain House finally opened. Daniel had finished the shelves, but I chose the tables, the reading cushions, and the schedule. Maya helped me organize weekend workshops for children who needed extra reading support, and several teachers from my school volunteered. We called it Pine Room Learning House. On the first Saturday, 12 children sat beneath the wide windows while I read aloud. Their parents drank coffee in the kitchen, and Daniel repaired a loose cabinet hinge without turning the morning into a performance about what he had built for me. At noon, I found him on the back porch, studying plans for a wheelchair-accessible path from the parking area. "You already designed that?" I asked. "I made a draft." "Without asking me?" His expression froze. For 1 second, both of us recognized the old pattern. Then he folded the plans. "You're right, I got ahead of us." I sat beside him. "Show me the draft." We reviewed it together. That was what progress looked like. Not never making the old mistake, but recognizing it before secrecy could grow around it. That evening, after the last family left, I returned to the reading room. On one of the tables stood 2 battery-operated candles Daniel had saved from our anniversary gift box. Between them was my wedding ring. I had kept it in my dresser for months. Daniel had never asked me to wear it again. He entered carrying a box of children's books and stopped when he saw it. "I'm not putting it on because everything is fixed," I said. "I know. I still remember what happened." "I know that too. I need you to understand that wearing it means I believe in what we are doing now, not that I approve of who we were then." He set the books down. "I understand." I slid the ring onto my finger myself. Daniel did not kiss me or make another promise. He simply moved the second candle closer so the light fell evenly across the table. Outside the windows, the mountains were dark. Behind us, the new shelves held books chosen by children, teachers, and families who had no connection to the Carter name. The house no longer felt like a place where I waited to be accepted. It had become a place Daniel and I had entered honestly, decided upon together, and opened to others. The first time I placed a ring beside anniversary candles, I believed it proved I had never belonged in my husband's life. The next time, I put my own ring back on, and no one else had made the decision for me.